Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Renu Tyagi from Sardar Patel Institute, Ahmedabad. Today we are going to learn the module Aging and Health Related Aspects of Exercise under the paper Physiology and Sports Anthropology. Now let's have a look at the objectives of this module. The learning objectives include that what is aging and how this process has been evolving. We'll be studying the different theories of human aging. Then we'll follow with the different outcomes of the aging and we'll study the health related aspect of the exercise with the age. Aging is the process of becoming older. In the narrow sense, the term refers to the biological aging of human beings, animals and other organisms. In a broader sense, aging can refer to as a single cell within organisms, that is the cellular senescence, or to the population of a species. In humans, the aging represents the accumulation of the changes in a human being over time, encompassing physical, psychological and social changes. Reaction time, for example, may slow with the age, while knowledge of the world, events and wisdom may expand. Aging is an important part of all human societies, reflecting the biological changes that occurs but also reflecting cultural and societal conventions. Aging is among the largest known risk factors for most human diseases. Roughly 1 lakh people worldwide die each day of the age-related causes, and it is the major cause of mortality in the developed world. Biological aging reflects and affects all human cells except for the germ cells, producing the ova and the spermatozoa, while such cells are potentially immortal. Recent scientific successes in rejuvenating and extending the lifespan of laboratory organisms, that is mice 2.5 times, yeast and nematodes 10 times, and the discovery of a variety of the species having negligible senescence give hope of achieving a negligible senescence for the younger humans, reversing the progression of aging or significantly delaying it. Regeneration medicine is a branch of medicine associated with the treatment of the age-related diseases. Let's understand the evolution of aging. Evolution is the unifying theory of biology. Understanding how evolution works is essential for explaining why we age. Aging evolves because of the interaction of two effects. First, natural selection is stronger on the young than on the old. This explains why the autosomal dominant disease, Huntington's disease, can persist even though it is inexorably lethal. Second, any genetic, developmental or physiological effect that increases the reproductive performance of the young will evolve so long as the cost that it imposes on the old are not too great, or put another way, traits that benefit early survival and reproduction will be selected for even if they contribute to an earlier death. Such genetic effects are called antagonistic pleiotropy. Antagonistic refers to the impact on fitness in the young, which is positive, and the negative effect on the old. Genetic pleiotropy refers to the genes that have multiple effects. Antagonistic pleiotropy has been identified both in model organisms and in humans. In humans, some of the genetic variants that increase fertility in the young are now known to increase cancer risk in the old. Let's understand some of the theories of human aging. Some of the important theories of aging include the telomere theory. Telomere have experimentally been shown to shorten with each successive cell division. Shortened telomere activates a mechanism that prevents further cell multiplication. This may be particularly limiting to tissues such as bone marrow and the arterial lining where cell division occurs repeatedly throughout the life. Importantly, though mice lacking telomerase enzyme do not show a dramatically reduced lifespan, invalidating at least simple version of the telomere theory of aging. Laboratory mice may be an exception for the theory as they have long hypervariable telomere, which prolong the period after which telomere shortening would affect the lifespan. However, wild mouse strain do not, and telomere length in these breeds is unrelated to lifespan. The next theory is reproductive cell cycle theory. The idea that aging is regulated by reproductive hormones that act in an antagonistic pleiotropic manner via cell cycle signaling, promoting growth and development early in life to achieve reproduction, but later in life in a futile attempt to maintain the reproduction become dysregulated and drive senescence. The endocrine dyscrasia that follows the loss of follicle with menopause and the loss of Leydig and Sertoli cells during andropause drive aberrant cell cycle signaling that leads to cell death and dysfunction, tissue dysfunction, and ultimately death. Moreover, the hormones that regulate reproduction also regulate cellular metabolism, explaining the increase in fat deposition during pregnancy through to the deposition of the centralized adiposity with the dysregulation of the HPG axis following menopause and during andropause. This theory, which produced a new definition of aging, has facilitated the conceptualization of why and how aging occurs at the evolutionary, physiological, and molecular level. The next theory which explains the aging is the DNA damage theory of aging. Genetic damage has two types. Mutations are the damages to the DNA sequence, while epimutation is damage to the DNA scaffolding which regulates the gene expression in the cell. Both ultimately harm our health by causing abnormal gene expression. Some mutation lead to cancer, which are the uncontrolled growth and divisions of cell. Lifelong studies of mice suggest that most mutation happen during embryonic and childhood development when cell divide, often as each cell division is a chance for error in DNA replication. Known cause of the cancer accounts for about 30% of total cancer burden and for about 30% of total DNA damage. DNA damage causes the cells to stop dividing or induce apoptosis, often affecting stem cell pools and hence hindering the regeneration. DNA damage is thought to be the common pathway causing both cancer and aging. Gene loss theory of aging has been established that the dog lose approximately 3.3% of the DNA in their heart muscle cell annually, while humans lost approximately 0.6% of their heart muscles DNA each year. These numbers are close to the ratio of the maximum longevities of the two species. The comparative percentage is also similar between the dog and humans for yearly DNA loss in the brain and lymphocytes. As stated by the lead author Bernard, genetic damage, particularly the gene loss, is almost certainly central cause of the aging. The autoimmune theory, the idea that aging results from an increase in autoantibodies that attack the body's tissue. A number of diseases associated with the aging such as atrophic gastritis and Hashimoto thyroiditis are probably autoimmune in this way. While inflammation is very much evident in old mammal, Even SCID mice in SPF colonies still experience the senescence. mTOR theory. mTOR is a protein that inhibits the autophagy, has been linked to aging through the insulin signaling pathway. It has been found in various model species that caloric restriction lead to the longer lifespan, an effect that is likely mediated by the nutrient sensing function of the mTOR pathway. mTOR functions through nutrient and growth cues, leading scientists to believe that dietary restrictions and mTOR are related in terms of longevity. When organisms restrict their diet, mTOR activity is reduced, which allows an increased level of the autophagy. This recycles old or damaged cell parts, which increases longevity and decreases the chance of being obese. This has been linked to the less mTOR activation as well. Therefore, longevity has been connected to caloric restriction and insulin sensitivity, inhibiting the mTOR, which in turn allows the autophagy to occur more frequently. It has been argued that aging is programmed, that an internal clock detects a time to end investing in the organism, leading to death. This aging clock theory suggests that an aging sequence is built into the operation of the nervous or endocrine system of the body. In rapidly dividing cells, shortening of the telomere would provide such a clock. This idea is in contradiction with the evolutionary based theory of aging. Accumulative waste theory, the biological theory of aging that points to a building in cells of waste products that presumably interfere with metabolism. Evidences supporting this theory is the presence of a waste product called lipofuscin, leading to age pigment. Lipofuscin is formed by a complex reaction that binds fat in the cells to proteins. This waste accumulates in the cells as small granules and increase in size as a person ages. The wear and tear theory is a very general idea that changes associated with the ages are the result of chance damage that accumulates over time. Error accumulation theory is based on the idea that aging results from the chance event that escape proofreading mechanism, which gradually damage the genetic code. The cross-linkage theory is based on the idea that aging results from the accumulation of cross-linked compounds that interfere with normal cell function. The free radical theory is based on the idea that free radicals, which are the unstable and highly reactive organic molecules, or more generally reactive oxygen species or oxidative stress, create damage that gives rise to symptoms we recognize as aging. Now let's understand what is misrepair accumulation theory. Wang et al. Suggests that aging is the result of the accumulation of misrepair. Important in this theory is to distinguish between the damage, which means newly emerging defects before any separation or before any repair has taken place, and misrepair, which describes the remaining defective structure after the repair. The key points in this theory are: there is an original damage left unrepaired in a living being. If damage was left unrepaired, a life-threatening condition such as bleeding, infection, or organ failure would develop. Misrepair, a repair with the less accuracy, does not happen accidentally. It is a necessary measure of the repairing system to achieve sufficiently quick repair in situation of serious or repeated damage to maintain the integrity and basic function of a structure, which is important for the survival of the living being. Hence, the appearance of misrepair increases the chance for the survival of the individual to the reproductive age, which is critically important for the survival of that species. Therefore, the misrepair mechanism is selected by nature due to its evolutionary advantage. Since misrepair as a defective structure is invisible to the repairing system, if accumulates with time and causes the disorganization of a structure or a tissue shell or a molecule. This disorganization is the actual process of the aging. Aging is the side effect for the survival but important for the species. This misrepair might represent the mechanism by which the organisms are not programmed to die but to survive as long as possible, and aging is just the price to be paid. Accumulation of the misrepair is localized and self-accelerating. The localized accumulation of the misrepair leads to the development of the spots or the plaque in a tissue. Thus, development of the aging changes is the homogeneous and self-accelerating. Reliability theory of aging and longevity. A general theory about system failure. It allows the researchers to predict the age-related failure kinetics for a system of given architecture and given reliability of its components. Reliability theory predicts that even those systems that are entirely composed of non-aging elements will nevertheless deteriorate with age if these systems are composed of irreplaceable element. Aging, therefore, is a direct consequence of the system failure. Reliability theory also predicts the late life mortality declaration with subsequent leveling off as well as the late life mortality plateaus as an inevitable consequences of redundancy exhaustion at extreme old ages. The theory explained why mortality rates increase exponentially with age in many species by taking into account the initial flaws in newly formed system. It also explains why organisms prefer to die according to the Gompertz law, while technical devices usually fail according to the Weibull law. Reliability theories allows the specification of when organisms die according to the Weibull distribution. Organisms should be relatively free of initial flaws and defects. The theory makes it possible to find a general failure law applicable to all adults in extreme old age, where the Gompertz and the Weibull law are just special cases of this more general failure law. The theory explains why relative differences in mortality rate of compared population vanishes with age and mortality convergence is observed due to the elimination of initial differences in failure rates. Let's see the outcome of aging. Aging is a complex process of accumulation of damage, and it is the major risk factor for predominant killer disease in developed societies. A major recent breakthrough has come from the discovery that mutation in single gene can produce a broad spectrum improvement in health during aging in laboratory animals and combat aging-related disease. These findings are pointing to a new broad spectrum preventative medicine for the disease of aging. Definition of topic aging occurs by accumulation of damage to molecules, cells, and tissues, resulting in loss of function and increased risk of death. Aging is a major risk factor for the predominant killer disease of developed countries, including dementia, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. The major burden of ill health is in now falling on the older section of the population, and we therefore need to understand mechanism underlying the aging process and the way in which it increases vulnerability to diseases. Let's understand the mechanism of aging. A powerful approach to understanding aging is to identify the intervention, genetic and environmental, that can slow the process and ameliorate the aging-related loss of function and diseases in laboratory animal. Genetic manipulation of candidate mechanism, either for generation of damage or protection against it, such as mitochondrial function or stem cell activity, has also provided major insight. Much research into aging-related disease is disease-specific, focusing, for instance, on Alzheimer's disease, cardiovascular disease, sarcopenia, or cancer. Increasingly, the commonalities in the etiology of these diseases are likely to be recognized and understood. Research into aging is frequently conducted with the laboratory model organisms, particularly budding yeast, the nematode worm, the fruit fly, and the mouse. Demographic work with the human provides an interface with the social sciences and often examines the whole life course as well as the aging process. Clinical work on the aging per se is less common. Work on the aging-related disease also use the laboratory model organisms as well as tissue culture and tissue isolates. Work on human population genetic association has been particularly successful in identifying the genes and hence processes that are important in particular type of aging-related diseases. The Alzheimer's precursor protein and the protein that process it together with a group of genes associated with Parkinson's disease are already classic examples for neurodegeneration. The interface with clinical activity is much more firmly established for aging-related disease than for aging itself, a situation that should change over the next decade. Status of the field research into aging has moved forward extremely rapidly in recent years, and the field is changing and developing at an increasing pace. Unlike a scientific investigation, identification of possible drug targets does not require that we know everything about the system. One of the major, probably tractable challenges in the near future is to identify and validate the potential drug targets in animals that might be therapeutic in humans. This will require an understanding of just how deep the evolutionary conservation of the pathways involved penetrates. Reducing activity of these pathways in mice can extend healthy lifespan but can also cause diabetes and apoptosis. It may be possible to narrow down to the benefit side of the disruption by homing in on the transcription factors somewhat downstream in this signaling cascade, depending upon how deep into the pathways the evolutionary conservation extend. Research into aging-related faces major challenges, with there still being essentiality no prevention or palliative treatment for the diseases like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. On the other hand, the research field is more mature than is the aging field, with a substantial international community of researchers working in the area and many large international meetings devoted to the topic. Research on aging frequently has to draw on expertise from other fields. Epigenetic mechanisms are proving to be of importance in aging, including the transgenerational effect, stem cell tissues regeneration, and biomaterial research are of a great importance, playing an important role in the research on aging. Bioinformatics is of vital importance, and to a lesser extent, system biology is starting to make its appearance in some areas of aging research. There is general agreement that aging is caused by damage, but there is much weaker understanding of the nature of the damage, the identity of the processes that generate it, and the system that can protect against it. Aspects of organism state change during the aging. A clear way into these issues have been provided by the starting discovery of intervention that improves health during aging and extend the lifespan. Already there has been called into question the leading importance of oxidative damage as a cause of aging, and have pointed instead to the importance of other processes such as endobiotics and xenobiotics and cellular detoxification and proteotoxicity. Another major three challenges will be to understand the nature of the connection between the aging process and the etiology of aging related disease. Let's have a look at the health related aspects of exercise. A steady decline in many cognitive processes is seen across the lifespan, accelerating from the 20s or even 30s. Research has focused in particular on memory and aging and has found decline in many types of memory with aging, but not in semantic memory or general knowledge such as the vocabulary, definitions, which typically increases or remains steady until the late adulthood. Early studies on changes in cognition with age generally found decline in intelligence in the elderly, but studies were cross-sectional rather than the longitudinal, and thus results may be an artifact of cohort rather than a true example of decline. However, the longitudinal studies could be confounded due to prior test experience. So students, let's now summarize what we have learned in this module. By now, we have understood that the physical activity has a fundamental role in the prevention and treatment of chronic diseases. The precise measurement of physical activity is a key to many surveillance and epidemiological studies investigating trends and associated with the disease. Public health initiatives aimed at increasing physical activity rely on the measurement of physical activity to monitor their effectiveness. Inappropriate or cross measures of the physical activities have serious implications and are likely to lead to misleading results and underestimation. Human body composition changes with the increasing age. The changes in body composition greatly reflect the physique pattern of a person. Studies have found that the cross-sectional area is highest between age 20 and 40, and muscle strength declines rapidly after middle age. The rate of decline in muscular power with aging is similar among male and female weightlifters. Accelerated strength loss with aging coincide with the weight loss and increase in chronic diseases such as diabetes, coronary heart disease, etc. Weightlifting performance follows a curvilinear trend while powerlifting performance declines linearly with the age. Age-related performance decrements are visible to greater extent among women than among the men. Exercise training for healthy elderly men enhances the heart's systolic and diastolic properties and increases the aerobic power. The time period of 9 to 12 months of endurance training improves the maximum oxygen uptake by 19% in men and 22% in women. Resistance training stimulates the protein synthesis and slows the loss of muscle strength with aging. Regular strengthening and balance exercises aids in reducing the orthopedic injury in older men and women. In postmenopausal women, regular exercise augments hormone replacement therapy to increase the total bone mineral density. So, the regular exercise in both men and women in old age group, which could help to the longevity of a person. Thank you.